Well, hello there, everybody, all you professional and budding astrologers. Welcome to another fun-filled adventure with Evolutionary Astrology with your host, Ryan Evans, Certified Master Evolutionary Astrologer with the Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology. However, I must say that I've been studying this stuff for 25 years. My first teacher is the great Pat Kaluza in Minneapolis. Magnificent Pisces. Old hippie, and boy, did I learn a bunch of stuff from her. So I'm certified in the Pat Kaluza School of Evolutionary Astrology too. And I suppose I'll get it out of the way now. If you are interested at all in any astrological services from yours truly, please feel free to check out my website at www.ryanevansastrology.com. Now, on to the fun stuff. Neptune retrograde through the houses. So here's a question. Earlier this afternoon, I was like, I'm going to be giving a small lecture on Neptune. Will I eat a steak or have 3 shots of tequila? What's the right answer? Well, here's the answer. They could both be right. However, for me, since I am Neptunian, natally, very strongly Neptunian, natally, it would be ill-advised to get into Neptune before I get into Neptune. Comprende? So I chose to eat a big, fat, healthy, delicious steak before this talk, so as to ground my normal Neptunian tendencies and hopefully make a little sense of the archetype that defies sense. So, Neptune. So the title of this hour-long talk is Neptune Retrograde Through the Houses. Now, we could very easily talk for an entire week, sun up to sundown, about Neptune, and probably still not exhaust the entirety of this immense part of our being. So what I'm going to attempt to do is to be out of character and be as Virgoan as humanly possible, and take 73 hours of information and try to whittle that down into now less than an hour. So, without further ado, let's jump in. So, Neptune. See right there. That right there. That was the entire definition of Neptune. I say Neptune, and instead of going into my analytical mind, I stop and I just quiet the mind and open to the impressions, the imagination, the transmissions that are coming from whatever we humans could consider not common, conventional reality. So what do we do when we try to talk reality about that which rules or which defines everything that which is unreal? Well, here we go. The way I really like to do astrology is to look first at the astronomy. And the way I like to define astrology is humans' superimposition of meaning onto the perceived world, the seasons, and the solar system. We look at it, we project meaning onto it, i.e., we make it up, and then through the laws of quantum physics and the fact that we live in a holographic universe, that intention is then reflected back to us. And the chair, after being called chair for so long, becomes truly a chair. Or the color blue. How do we know blue is blue? Do we really know? No. Blue is blue because we have said that it is. So the disclaimer here, everything in astrology, from my point of view, everything in astrology exists and is defined because we have projected meaning onto what we see. I'm a Sagittarian, and that's my belief, and I'm not moving from that belief until I get a better one. But I'm also sage enough to know that ultimately we really don't know anything. So let's go with what we kind of know. Well, what we kind of know is that everything revolves around the sun. We live in a solar system. That's why we say, I am a Sagittarius, because we exist thanks to the sun. Take the sun out of the equation, we're flung off into the abyss, cold and dead within microseconds. So the sun, it holds everything together. Everything revolves around it. And so what do we have astronomically? We have the sun, it's cruising through the galaxy, and there are these four rocky worlds that are around it, Mercury and Venus, and we've got the Earth and Mars. And here we are, these rocky things that are going around the sun, and then we have the asteroid belt. And then after the asteroid belt, we have these four gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Gas giants, rocky worlds, gas giants, rock, gas. And then we have another hazy band of archetypes, the Kuiper belt, another swirling mass of debris. And so general astrological meaning projection says, okay, here is Mercury, this one planet so close to the sun. So if I am the sun, then where do we go from that? Well, we have to look outside and see the rest of the world. Mercury rules perception and our interface with reality. Give me the facts, says Mercury. And so, not to be a lengthy discussion in how astrology works and why, but then you go to the planet furthest from the sun, and we have Neptune. So here's the sun, here's my sense of self, here's who I am, and then, before I get into the hazy band ruled by Pluto, the unconscious, and then the mysteries beyond, the furthest extent of myself, I come to Neptune. And so the beautiful way I remember Stephen Forrest describing this is that you just imagine going on a journey from yourself to that place as far away from yourself as you can go. It's still yourself. It's still you, but it's that part of you that is least connected with whatever we call ego or whatever we could consider the archetype of the sun to be. And so, being so far away, what are we doing at the planet Neptune? What's going on there? The way I like it described is that we're sitting there at our furthest place from ego. Ryan is sitting there at the furthest place from what Ryan thinks and wants, and is opening himself up to receiving, to sending and receiving transmissions through this hazy band of archetypes, through the unconscious self, through our Pluto function, out into the great mystery. And so Neptune, astrologically, looking at the astronomy, Neptune is the interface between our being and everything we think we are, all of our interplanetary work and all of our outer planetary work, Jupiter, our mission, Saturn, our hard work, Uranus, our search for authenticity and healing trauma, and we get to that point of, okay, what is it? What's it all about? What's the next thing? I take one more step out of this solar system, one more step away from myself, and I'm tumbling, bouncing off Pluto and Eris and Quoar, and bouncing off all of these unconscious archetypes, and eventually getting to where the mystery, so it's at Neptune where we must hold fast to ourselves, while still understanding the limitations of self as we engage with whatever we consider the all to be, the mystery, the one heart of creation. So please make no mistake, Neptune is not God. Neptune is our perception of God, goddess, spirituality. Neptune is our ego's chosen interface with whatever we could call those parts of reality that are super far away from reality. So what do we have in those places? Well, sure, we have prayer. We have, okay, God, I can't understand anything about this human existence. Please fill me full of light. So we have the prayer. We have that interface. We don't know. We've sensed God, goddess, the spiritual, the transcendent. We've sensed it. We've felt it. But how many of us have really had, God walk in and sign a paper in front of a notary public that says, yes, I am God, and you'll die on this day, and you'll get married on this day, and this is what the fate of the world is about. Okay, thanks, God. It hasn't happened. At least not that anyone can prove. So we have the proofless. We have that which we must take on faith. We have that which is so far away from conventional reality that we enter the realm of imagination. So Neptune, imagination, spirituality. What's the difference? Ponder that during this retrograde. Jim Morrison said, we have constructed pyramids in honor of our escaping. There are those that believe that we have made up all of our gods. Regardless of whether or not that is true, I believe that it is true and provable, verifiable, that we have all experienced states of connection with spirit, or transcendence, or bliss, or universal compassion, or inspired imagination, or sheer faith in the midst of absolute tragedy. And so, regardless of whatever our faith is, we still all have a Neptunian function. We still all have a desire to interface with the mystery somehow. And often, that desire to interface with the mystery, that desire occurs when when the mystery is put in our face. We experience loss, we experience grief, we don't know the future, we lose our job, our reality that we have built for 21 years comes to a halt because the kids are finally in college and the job is no longer satisfying. And we're at the precipice of this absolute unknown fog. That can terrify us, that can destroy us. And if it can destroy us, if we approach that place, anything astrologically, if we approach that from a place of fear. I don't know. Oh my God, and I'm so scared. Oh, I feel better for 5 minutes. Or I'm approaching the unknown. I don't know what to do. I don't know where we're going. Oh my God, I'm going to go completely insane because at least there's predictability and comfort in the psych ward. And so to do Neptune right, to do Neptune consciously, it is very, very, very dangerous. Because to do Neptune consciously implies that we have to be conscious of what we're doing. And during a Neptune time, during a Neptune stimulus, we don't often know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. All we can do is throw up our hands and let go, trust, and have faith. Trust in what? All I can see out of, as I'm sitting here at the edge of Neptune, all I can see is Pluto and all the pain and all the heck and all the hell associated with all of those Kuiper Belt objects, because I've put all my junk out there and as far away from me as I can, and it's too much. And so we check out. With Neptune, we want to check out. So are we going to check out of reality enough to let the inspiration, the faith, the compassion, the creativity come to us? Are we going to check out of our fear? Are we going to check out of our ego? Or are we going to check out of reality so that there isn't a person there to receive the gifts and the faith and the inspiration and the creativity? So make no mistake. Oh, you're having a Neptune transit. Oh, it sounds like you're having a spiritual experience. Yeah, well, spiritual experience often comes at the precipice of absolute fear and unknown. And oh my God, here's Pluto. I have to engage that in order to get the full clear transmission. So again, try not to make this a 27-hour lecture, but the relationship between Pluto and Neptune, there's a deep, intimate relationship with them. In Pluto's 2 orbits around the sun, Neptune orbits around 3 times. And 20 years of that time, Pluto is actually inside of Neptune's orbit. Pluto, messages from the dark, an engagement with our shadow. Everything that was too hard to charge, too intense to deal with, we put into our Pluto. All of the crap that has been handed down since the birth of humanity is in that Pluto. You want me to engage that in order to talk to God? Yeah, right. And I say, yeah, right. Because Shadow Neptune will win every time if it is just all wine and roses and everything's great. And yeah, I just lost my job, but that just means that all I have to do is say that I have a great job 10,000 times in the mirror and gag me with a spoon. In order to have true, healthy, rich, Neptunian spirituality, where we understand the great words of Ram Dass, who says, pleasure, pain, loss, gain, fame, shame, it's all the same. That's enlightened Neptune. In order to get to that place, you have to engage your Pluto. You have to face that dragon head on. You have to go into anything and everything that will disrupt a clear transmission between you and the divine, or you and spirit, or you and the mystery, or you in deep space electromagnetic radiation, whatever it is. You must deal with that Pluto. So I just thought that was imperative to say, because it is into the Neptune shadow we go every time when we think we're doing positive Neptune, faith, spirituality, idealism, imagination, when we think we're doing that without taking the Pluto piece into account. So, Neptune retrograde. Anytime any planet is retrograde, it is super very simple. You professional astrologers and you student astrologers, super simple. The prefix RE. Retrograde means re. With Mercury retrograde, we rethink and we recalculate and we reorganize and we fix things that were broken. With Neptune retrograde, we reimagine. We reintegrate our spirituality. Okay? We recreate a dream or a vision. We re-engage our connection with all of those things I just spoke that Neptune was about. So why? Why are there retrogrades? I love it. I love astrology so much because the answers, the astrological answers are shown in the astronomy and vice versa. Whenever we have to redo something, it's because maybe the trajectory we were on wasn't in our best interest. Maybe we had the wrong idea. Maybe we had misinformation. Maybe in terms of Neptune retrograde, maybe the dream that started as inspiration and vision and we thought was clear transmission got clouded with a little fantasy. Maybe a little illusion crept in and said, oh, but you can buy the Brooklyn Bridge for only $5. Oh, yeah, I can. And so we may be on a particular trajectory with our spiritual development or our creative development or the evolution of our consciousness. Another great term for Neptune. We may be on a particular trajectory, but sometimes we can leave the house without the grocery bag and the water jug, and we're going to the co-op because we really need water in the first place, and the mustard and eggs are, whatever, but it's really the water. And maybe we have the vision of going to the grocery store and getting our stuff. We forget the water jug. We have to backtrack, get the water jug, and then continue more fully on our path. Now, I'm not suggesting that, hey, everybody, we're off path 40% of the time. Because let's face it, Neptune retrogrades every year. Neptune retrogrades every year from mid to end of June to the mid to end of November. So it's not an unusual event. Again, 40% of your life, Neptune is retrograde. Whenever it opposes the sun. How about that? That could work too. So, Neptune retrograde. Retrograde, an internalization of the energy, an introspection, a turning of an energy to make sure we are on the right, the correct, the best, the most evolutionary, appropriate trajectory for our soul. That's why these retrogrades happen. And that is a gift. Because if retrogrades in general did not occur, I think we would never really learn from our mistakes. And we just keep repeating them. And we wonder why things go on in that same fashion. And so when we have retrograde activity, it doesn't matter the planet, we are invited to take a look at how that is working with us, to turn that energy inward. Quick example, I'll come back to it, and then I'll start in the houses. Neptune's crossing your midheaven, but then stations retrograde. Comes back, inches into the 9th house, stations direct, crosses your midheaven again. Why? Is there something about your career that you are doing wrong? Not at all. Neptune, the inspiration, the vision, the creative part of us that wishes to take whatever magic is found out there, integrate it into ourselves to hopefully be of service in some capacity to others. How are we going to inspire? Like, let's say we have Neptune on our midheaven, and we wish to be an inspiration to the world. We wish to be an inspiration to other people. We want to have a more spiritual or creatively satisfying career. What's going to happen? Well, what Neptune is going to do through the 9th house is Neptune is going to say, okay, what is really the meaning of life? What is your spiritual journey really about? Because after you're done with the spiritual journey there in the 9th house, doesn't matter the planet, you go into the 10th house and you offer what you learned in that journey. You offer that wisdom as a gift to the world. And so maybe Neptune hits your midheaven and stations retrograde. Maybe your vision for what you were going to give the world needed a bit of reworking, maybe a bit of remastery, reimagine. So I'm going to repeat this again when I get to the 10th house, but Neptune retrograde across the midheaven back and forth, it's a time to regather your spiritual strength, because when Neptune goes direct and enters and hits your midheaven and enters solidly into your 10th house, then you must be a spiritual inspiration for your community or in your career. Otherwise, shadow Neptune creeps in and you're victimized, you're used, you're not seen, and your energy is sucked away in the context of career or the public. So in order to avoid leaking energy, which is the shadow of Neptune, in order to avoid leaking the energy, we've got these great retrograde times to say, hey, Neptune's about to have this engagement, or maybe Neptune is having this engagement with some important aspect of your being. How are you doing with all that? How's your vision for it going? How does it feel, really? Are you truly inspired? Do you feel the force flowing through you in this capacity? Whatever it is, square Venus, opposite Uranus, whatever it is. And so we check in with ourselves. So let's journey through the houses now and see what it is, where it is that we are going to check in with ourselves and ask ourselves these big, deep questions. Neptune crosses your ascendant. And chances are you just spent a few years experiencing some loss. Maybe you let some things go. Maybe you had to let go of all of your belief systems and open up to the fact that you know absolutely nothing as Neptune transited your 12th house. And now Neptune's hitting your ascendant, coming into your first house. And it is time for you to become positive, healthy Neptune. You are to be Neptunian. The ascendant mask you wear, one interpretation, put on the Neptunian mask. If it's retrograding, are you sure you want to wear that mask? A very good question. We could be trapped in a role that is completely inauthentic to our spiritual or creative inspiration. And so our life energy could be sucked from us when Neptune crosses our ascendant, transits through our first house, if we do not have a strong, healthy sense of self. Neptune retrograde in the first house, get a very strong, healthy sense of self so that when you are to offer that self up in a Neptunian fashion, as artist, healer, creative, inspirer, whatever it is, that there is no ego attachment there. There's no person there to suffer, but the person who is there is incredibly powerful in their spirituality. Again, you leak energy in this. You have no idea who you are. You have no idea where you're going. So Neptune retrograde is to open up to a vision of who you are, who you're becoming, and how to define yourself, since Neptune's in Pisces now, how to define yourself as a very healthy Pisces. Moving on. Neptune in the second house. And for questions, again, this is 100 billion hours of information put into one. I'm going to try to leave a few minutes at the end for questions. Please hold your questions till the end. Neptune is about flow. I'm trying to stay in the flow. Neptune in the second house. Well, once we figure out who we are in the first house, we go to the second house and we figure out what it is we want. We have to prove to ourselves that we actually are that person. So when we come to Neptune in the second house, we have to develop a certain level of skill and sophistication regarding our engagement with Neptune. Second house, being naturally an earth house based in reality, says if we're going to do Neptunian unreality, let's make it as real as possible. So let me get into my body and do yoga, Neptune in the second house. Let me go buy the most beautiful amethyst crystal I've ever found in my whole life as Neptune transits the second house. Because that crystal, that amethyst, that means seventh chakra transcendence to me. And I'm doing everything I can to integrate transcendence into my being, and this thing represents transcendence and spirituality. So I'm going to buy this thing because I'm worth it. Boom. Maybe in Neptune retrograde in the second house is the time to see what it is that you truly do have that contains this, again, very general terms, spiritual or creative power for you. If we do this energy incorrectly, then maybe we're doing Ashtanga yoga when we should be doing Kundalini yoga. If Neptune is transiting our second house and we are doing this energy unconsciously, then maybe we could very easily buy all sorts of crystals and dresses and makeup and beautiful things that will give us the illusion of being something more than the horrible self-esteem I'm currently feeling myself as having. And so Neptune retrograde in the second house then becomes a time to really see what we are worth spiritually or creatively, and to be open to a resurgence of faith in ourselves. So Money, where'd my money go? Oh, I don't have, money? Where'd the money go? Sure, that's a definite shadow of Neptune in the second house. But faith, letting go, compassion regarding the material realm and our personal material realm, as much inside as humanly possible, Neptune retrograde in the second house. We come to the third house, the house of senses. This is where we speak and we listen and we observe and we touch. It's a little more second house, but it's where we perceive the world outside of us. Put Neptune in that house, and sometimes everything we see can be filtered through a thick layer of fog. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm hearing. Is what I'm saying okay? And if we do Neptune unconsciously through the third house during a retrograde, we could easily be going, duh, I don't know, and have that scare the bejesus out of us. But the correct, as I see it, and I could be wrong, but the correct perception then of Neptune's transiting retrograde through the third house is to then say, okay, if I can't see it, can I still have faith? If I can't hear it, can I still have faith? If I can't articulate it, can I still know what it feels like in here? So we reword it in here, and we reimagine it in here, and we filter everything that we perceive through our heart, through our love, through our compassion, through trust. And so, we leak energy through that, and we can get worried and scattered and confused, and we can misread things, and it's completely understandable. So Neptune retrograde says, hey, let's slow down. Let's reimagine all this, reintegrate our spiritual being with our perception. So we need to be open to messages from the beyond. We need to convey compassion through our words. We need to trust those psychic visions. So sometimes Neptune transits through our third house in retrograde, and it's time to just zip it and listen. And if we feel inspired to really be sure that those who want our inspirational words really do want them. We come to Neptune down at the IC, down at the soul point, if you will, the part where our deepest roots are, our deepest heart is, our family, where we have our inner world. So what happens when Neptune comes in there? Well, when Neptune comes in there, we are being asked to find a safe home here. We're asked to find who our spiritual friends and family, those real deep spiritual bonds, where are those? Let's establish those. And here's the thing. Neptune in the shadow in the fourth house, we can easily lose ourselves in the family myth. We can be a pawn of the family. We can feel alienated. So Neptune becomes retrograde as it transits our fourth house. It is time to really connect with our soul on the inside. What am I really about? If this life were a movie and I was the main character, what is the spiritual or creative storyline of the essence of the root of my being? We ask ourselves these questions during a Neptune retrograde. And maybe we make our home a sanctuary. Maybe we find, maybe we offer some forgiveness to those in our family who perpetuate the drama. Sometimes we might even have to remove ourselves from that drama. But after the engagement with the family myth, we come into the house of fun. Who doesn't like fun? And Neptune in the house of fun in the fifth house. Wow, boy, we can be open to divine creativity. We could dance with ecstasy, or in the shadow, we could be lost in insanity after having taken too much ecstasy. Neptune in the fifth house. See, in the fifth house, we release energy. And so we go out on a date, or we go recreate, we go play some games. So we want to have fun. Having fun with Neptune? I am sure we can all imagine plenty of ways to have fun by checking out. We can lose ourselves in our appetites, or like I said, in what could be spiritual ecstasy through moving our body, we instead try to take the easy way out and take too much ecstasy, throw off our serotonin levels, and we're screwed for 7 years. So, Neptune retrogrades in the fifth house. How are you doing with all that? Are you seeking too much escape through recreating? Or are you really, truly recreating your joy? That's the fifth house. We can be wasted off 8 shots of tequila and be like, oh, I'm so happy. I feel so much joy and bliss. And that's one way to get there, but the end result is the same, higher or lower path. We want to be happy. So the fifth house, Neptune, highly recommend during a retrograde, in the Neptune retrograde in the fifth house, take as much of that higher path to spiritual and creative ecstasy as possible without having to escape into those realms. So redream what makes you happy. Neptune retrograde in the fifth house. Sixth house, time to get back to work. So Neptune in the house of work, Neptune in the house of Virgo, Neptune, everything that is unreal, in the house, in the realm where we got to get real. So Neptune, the dream in the house of reality, says to make every real moment as spiritual as possible. Bring in the compassion, bring in the faith, bring in the choice of positive perception as best as humanly possible in every single moment we chop wood and carry water when Neptune transits our sixth house. Sixth house, the house of mentors. Seek spiritual mentors. When Neptune transits the sixth house, when it is retrograde, I like to think of the sixth house as a preparatory phase before we bring whatever it is we're doing in the sixth house out into the world above the horizon when we cross into the seventh house. So we have a preparatory phase. It is time to Neptune retrograde in the sixth house. It is time to reimagine our spiritual gifts that we are working on perfecting in ourselves, because soon, when Neptune crosses into the seventh house, we will be asked to offer that light, that inspiration to others. Neptune retrograde in the sixth, perfect thyself. Neptune retrograde in the seventh, let go of all of those people to whom you do not wish to give that perfect self. Make sense? So the seventh house, we leave the realm of ourself, enter the realm of the other. So we must be open to the right people and the right experiences. We must begin to trust the flow of the universe. And if we are leaking energy in this realm, then we will attract addicts, dreamers, floozies, irresponsible people who will continually suck our energy away. Maybe we will trust the wrong people or find that we have the ideal relationship that has no basis in reality. So we must re-intuit who our allies are. We must reimagine the possibility of trusting if we have a history of it being burned. Because then we come into the eighth house and there ain't no going back. When we get into the eighth house, we will merge with whomever and whatever we engaged with in the seventh house. So when we merge, when we become one with, we have birth and we have death. We have taxes. We have business entanglements. So whenever Neptune enters this house, we are asked to spiritualize, have compassion for, have a creative injection in the realms of intimacy, our interface with our mortality, and with those entanglements like business, government taxes, the contracts, and other things. So Neptune comes in to the eighth house in retrograde. And it is time for us to really reclaim our spiritual power. Because when we engage with death and life, when we engage with other powers, when we engage in the complexities of intimacy, we must be very compassionate. And we must have the ability to put ourselves into the other person's shoes if we are going to really have rapport with the other. So when Neptune is retrograde in that eighth house, it is time for us, again, to re-examine our relationship with mortality, with intimacy, and to find our great spiritual power amidst all of these intense human experiences. And we come into the ninth house, and it is time, it's like we have left the house of death, and so what is next? The great journey. In Scorpio, in the eighth house, all the tomatoes are dead. There's no more garden to tend. So, and it is right before the death of winter there when we enter the season of Capricorn. So the season of Sagittarius is that time where, wow, faith and meaning must be paramount, because there's no telling what happens after the death of the sun. There at the end of Sagittarius, beginning of Capricorn. So we come to the ninth house, and Neptune begins the journey of faith. We must be open to our metaphysical teachings, go on a pilgrimage, a spiritual journey. And if we do this incorrectly, hey, we could be on the spiritual journey and have had these experiences, and so therefore we know. And since we know, we go into dogma and religion. And so Neptune comes retrograde, time to check your beliefs. Neptune is retrograde in the ninth house. There is reality and there is illusion. And both of them can have meaning. Where are you putting it? Why? Check in with yourself. Neptune retrograde, ninth house. What is really real? Because when you find out what is really real for you and what the real meaning and purpose is spiritually in this life, it becomes time to offer that as a gift to the world, to people we don't even know. I don't know most of you. Neptune is right on my midheaven. It is my job now for the next several years to offer my Neptunian gift to the world. You want to know something? That can scare the beep out of me. And so, thank goodness Neptune is retrograding back across my midheaven so that I can gather some spiritual strength before Neptune stations direct 2 days before my birthday, and Jupiter conjoins my sun, and it looks like my solar return year is going to be really big. So if that's true, then it'd be really wise for me to take this time and make sure that I can leave my ego at the door of service, and that I don't become some sort of utility where I'm I'm nailed to the cross of community in service. So how to offer my spiritual gifts to the world without getting used. Thank goodness I have Neptune retrograde to teach me all about, to help me to learn all about how to do this mo better. So Neptune enters the 11th house, the house of the tribe, the house of the people with shared interests. I really don't like to do this. This is out of character of something that I would do, but I'm wondering if there's a large percentage of people who are watching this, larger than average percentage of people who are watching this that have Neptune transiting their 11th house, getting some spiritual information from a group of like-minded individuals over an electronic medium. I mean, come on. So right here, we're doing a little Neptune in the 11th house thing. And so if you have Neptune transiting your 11th, then you benefit greatly from the support of a community of people who can share and reflect, hey, this is what I think. Oh, hey, this is what I think. Oh, yeah, this is what I think. Okay, so we can, as Neptune transits our 11th house, we can reimagine what community to engage with and how to effectively engage that. Not only that, the 11th house is so big, not only that, this is also our vision of the future. This is where we have an interface with how we want our life to develop then over time. Neptune comes in, Neptune comes retrograde. Maybe we find ourselves with the wrong crowd, or maybe we have goals that are weak, or maybe our vision of the future is a little more whatever, and we're being asked to re-dream our future as Neptune transits retrograde through the 11th house. And then, so powerful, comes Neptune into its natural 12th house, where Neptune is at its strongest, but also its shadow potential is at its strongest. So Neptune comes into the 12th house, and the 12th house, being ruled naturally by Neptune, is that part of reality that is so far from it. We have hospitals and psych wards. We have incredible creative inspiration. We have our spirituality here. So when the planet of spirituality comes into the house of spirituality, we're looking to really, really, really integrate the highest aspect of Neptunianism into our being. Enlightenment, become the spiritual master, open to psychic realms, open to your dreams and the interface between your dreams and space-time. Those with Neptune transiting the 12th house have the ability in their life right now to become spiritual masters, as long as the shadow doesn't creep in. Overwhelm, oh my God, I am so psychic, I can feel everything and everybody, therefore I'm shutting down, where is my tequila? So Neptune comes retrograde in the 12th house. And we say, okay, time to hone my spiritual practice, time to master my psychic powers. And those of you who have Neptune transiting your 12th house, if you are taking lectures or classes or trainings on strengthening your spiritual or creative or selfless gifts, if you are doing things to open your psychic vision, then you are completely and totally on the right track. Neptune is retrograde. Don't go too far out. Keep it in. Watch the tendencies. The tendencies for Neptune in the 12th is to go far. Reel it in and go deep. So that is a very quick and much abbreviated journey expose, if you will, into Neptune retrograde through the houses. And so if it's at all possible, I would love to answer any questions. Oh, Linda just posted something. Any questions? Anyone, please go ahead. Sure, so speak up. You'll have to unmute your mic.
Give us a moment to think of the question.
Sure.
There's a question in the chat about, I'm not exactly sure, but it says Neptune in the first, you said Neptune in the first house, you have to wear the mask of Neptune. I guess they're wanting you to elaborate on that.
Sure. Whenever anything enters our first house or conjoins our ascendant, or for that matter, aspects our ascendant, we are being asked to take the most positive, the highest expression of whatever that archetype is and integrate it into our style. The ascendant being the mask that we wear, the clothes that we wear, the vehicle that we drive in, and the terrain we encounter, all of that becomes Neptunian. So with Neptune, we have a choice between faith or fear. We have a choice between walking through the fog and not knowing what we're doing and having that be okay, or having that not be okay. And if we can have that be okay, then all of that good stuff that we hear with Neptune, the inspiration, the transcendence, the idealism, the sensitivity, all of that stuff then becomes integrated into our being. So Neptune crosses your ascendant, you are asked to be Neptune. As you drive through as you steer through Neptunian waters, as you're wearing Neptune's clothes, and as you're as you're driving through Neptune's waters in an imaginary boat that seems to keep disappearing, and then you get wet, and then you find it again. But again, have faith.
Okay, any final comments or questions?
For me, I just wanted to say I have Neptune going through the 7th, and it looks like Karen Allen also has it transiting the 7th house.
Sure.
And for me, what I've been noticing is the rose-colored glasses that I have worn for decades in regards to close relationships and really all relationships in general have been dissolved away to very, that crystal clear Windex glasses. And I'm really seeing people for who they are.
Perfect. It's exactly what Neptune wants to do. We think, oh my God, This relationship is dissolving away, or this career is dissolving away, or who I am is dissolving away, or my home is dissolving away. There's Neptune on the angles. And so why? Why is it dissolving away? Why would Neptune dissolve away something? Because anything that would dissolve does not have enough foundation for its long-term durability. So we say, okay, universe, take what you will from me. The sea refuses no river. So all we can do is open up and say, okay, I will have faith, and I will continue to do everything I can to consciously vibrate at whatever I consider to be the highest level of a Neptunian expression. In the 7th house, how about this? Ideal love seems impossible, especially if we have a Neptune transit that just hit our 7th house and everything that has not been true washes away. We can feel the loss, we can feel the bereavement, we can feel the sadness, and we have to feel that. We have to. It's part of the letting go process. And as we cry those tears, when they're all gone and there's nothing left and we're an empty vessel, that's when the universe says, now you're empty, I can fill you up. And so Neptune is going to empty you. Neptune will empty your 4th, your 5th, your 8th, your 9th house, so as to fill you up with whatever is more true. Here's one: whatever is more real. So, any other questions, comments?
Well, we've just run out of time, so I'd like to thank you so much for this amazing meeting. And would you all please thank Ryan Evans, everyone?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, that was fun.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Loved it.
Thank you. Okay,